Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Fearless Road podcast, where we explore entrepreneurial insights, stories, and advice on embracing fear, breaking boundaries, and achieving goals on the road to success. I'm your host, Michael DeVue. And after years of overcoming obstacles and tragedy, I began to wonder, how does someone become fearless? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out. In every episode, we dive into the lives of individuals who've learned to turn fear into fuel, face some incredible challenges, and cultivate a fearless mindset while navigating their fearless road. So join me for in-depth interviews with some amazing people where we investigate more deeply the valleys on their road to success, because the valleys are where character is built, foundations are laid, and where the fearless are born. Welcome to the Fearless Road podcast. All right, so if you recall, Part 2, we ended with Wild Turkey interrupting our production and Karlis' phone overheating. He was just about to get into his story about the first time he rowed in his boat across the Atlantic Ocean after only training, I think, 37 kilometers in a lake. And he Googled it and thought, well, why not? I'll row across the ocean. We're going to let him tell this story. It's so good. Part 3 in the final chapter of the incredible interview with Karlis Bardelis. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Enjoy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're following us and you're back, we jumped back into studio. We lost our connection. Karlis' phone overheated. So we are dealing with some technical issues. We're dealing with wildlife who are making themselves known. And where were we? We were on your first rowing journey, which, gosh, by the way, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to learn to row, I suppose taking on the Atlantic Ocean is one way to do it. But Karlis decided, after Googling it, that he should go ahead and row from Africa to Brazil. So here we are. I'm going to take us a bit forward. You've Googled, you've trained, you've done a little bit of training, 37 kilometers in a boat that you've never been in before, that you think is going to take you across the ocean. And take us out into this first trip. And you're in the middle of the ocean. On this first trip, were you by yourself, rowing by yourself?
So I was with my previous colleague from the office. So just one thing I said, be aware of you're Googling what you Google.
Yes,
and
be careful.
Yeah, be careful. And be careful with whom you're sitting in the same office. Because me and my rowing partner, we sat at the same office back in the days when we were working in the office. So we went to row across the Atlantic with the aim to arrive in Rio de Janeiro by the time of Olympic and Paralympic Games in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. And
okay.
Yeah, a lot of things happened, and we arrived 1 month after
late.
After Olympics. And we arrived 1 week after Paralympics. So a lot of things happened.
But you were still raising awareness for climate change and for human-powered endeavors. So that part worked, right?
Absolutely. And being environmental master environmental management myself, I can definitely draw the lines that connects the dots between human-powered journeys and like climate change. But to be honest, I mostly wanted to underline that if there is something in you that you want to do, and there is this spark, there is this something that resonates in you, I better wanted to be an advocate for that, because some people believe into climate change, some people don't. So not going into the environmental things, I'm going into your core, in anyone who is listening or watching us now, that there is something inside of you that you wanted to do, you may be pushed aside, and or by the way, Michael, there have been people who said that, no, I never had this big dream, I never wanted to do these kind of challenges, I never had it in
Yes.
me. And then I say, yeah, but when you, let's say, volunteer for someone, or maybe you help someone to achieve some goal, or to build a business, or to build something, a company, there is so many opportunities that comes up without you thinking about them on the first hand. You never know that where this road can lead you. So I would say, if there is some crazy guy or girl who has this idea, he wants to go on a journey, she wants to build a company, to build something, yeah, maybe it's a good idea just to join them and help. Maybe
Yes.
that is also a way to also to become a better version of yourself. So, but coming back to that, our Atlantic crossing. Well, as I said, a lot of things happened along the way. A lot of things what we never expected happened. We actually had to invent new rowing technique, but because we couldn't sit down anymore, because we were facing very severe health problems. We were covered with boils on our
Oh, shoot.
backside because a lot of things that we didn't expect it. Like, just imagine such a simple thing here on land. You might never pay attention how much sugar there is in the energy bars. So
Yes.
we never thought about that, how much sugar is there actually. And we thought that, yeah, sugar, it's an energy, so we need an energy to row 12 hours a day. But it turned out that it's too much, and it impacted our immunity.
Oh, wow.
Like, we were rowing in 2-hour shifts. One is rowing 2 hours, other one is resting for 2 hours. And that goes on for 24 hours a day. So it means that even during the night, when you normally get your deep sleep cycles and you recover properly, we were not able to do that. So, so the problems with the food, the sleep, and then what happens with the water you're drinking. So hydration.
Yes.
And you know what? We tested equipment in Latvia, and it was funny. The company's manager who gave us back the water maker, that is desalinator, that desalinates seawater into drinkable water, he gave us back the equipment, and he said, well, it meets the requirement standards. You will not die was his
Okay.
okay, yeah. So, and then let's try how that works in real life. So actually it was quite problematic because it turned out it was a used water maker, and it's well, we knew that it is a used water maker. That's why we tested it. So it kind of met the standards, but it was still a bit salty. So we were pouring in not so good fuel. So you can imagine you are
salty water, tons of sugar, easy carbohydrates that are not complex carbohydrates. So your body is turning most of those carbohydrates into a sugar in order to burn them. So your metabolism, I imagine, was off balance. Your chemistry was off balance.
Absolutely. So therefore, that all bad things that we were pouring in, and of course the physical effort. You are rowing 12 hours a day, so definitely, and you need a good recovery, sleep, and we were not getting that.
Yeah.
So all that smoothie, should I say, turned out that our bodies were trying to cope with the situation and squeezing out all the bad things in form of boils. And
Oh my gosh.
they were like really nasty and very, very painful. And we were not able to sit down on our sliding seat, on the rowing seat. So,
Yeah.
and we had to drink antibiotics to stop the inflammation. So
Yes.
we took two antibiotic courses we had to take because the boils came back and we had to take antibiotics. And the third time, when I thought that, well, we have to figure out something else because we don't want to give up. We are 1/3 in our way. We have to find a solution. And the solution was actually, in the beginning, it was stupid, naive idea that we might be able to row not while sitting in a rowboat, but standing. So if any one of you who are listening have been in a rowboat in your life, you understand that this is a stupid idea because everything is very wobbly and unstable when you stand up in a rowboat. So, but we had to learn this new technique. We just had to because there was no other way. So eventually, when we learned the new technique, that was the thing which enabled us to row across the Atlantic. This rowing while standing, and then after 2 weeks, the knees were full of boils because we were pressing against the rowing seat, and we couldn't stand up anymore after 2 weeks. But after 2 weeks, my butt was already a little bit healed, so I could sit down and
I could sit.
and row and continue to row. So this is the thing where you can draw connection lines between the companies and environment that we are surrounded in the business. Because I was giving this lecture to one businessman, and he later on came up to me and said, "You know what? Your story about this solution, that you were like figuring out solution no matter what. He said, imagine we never will have a client that's gonna ask, can you please issue an invoice for $5,000 for the solution for the problem that you cannot solve. Please issue us an invoice for that you cannot do."
Yes.
No, there is always only we are getting paid for the solutions that we can figure out and the performance that we can do. So
Deliver.
Deliver, exactly. So this is like really connected also with the entrepreneurship. So you will never get an option that I will pay you for what you can't do. No, you are only paid for what you're able to do and figure out and deliver.
Well, and most of us don't realize that that part of the cost of business is finding those solutions, right? Is the failures. The failures are what get us to the actual successes. Edison made 1,000 bad light bulbs before he made one that worked. The reason why we have so many, meds these days is these pharmaceutical companies which charge, a lot of money for meds, but spent billions of dollars in research getting to the one that works, right? So it's built into the price point, I would say, that we are participating in the process of getting to a solution. But what we want as consumers is the solution. We don't want to know that we're paying for you to solve the problem so much as we just want you to create the solution for us and help us get to that success. So obviously on the Fearless Road, we talk about fear. Was there a point you felt fear on this journey when in the middle of the ocean? Did you feel fear?
Well, there was a situation where I felt that it's unfair that something is not letting us to do what we want to do, like through the bone, like to the bone, like we were true to the bone but something is not letting do the thing what we want. That was with these health problems. But fear. I remember when we were maybe 2-3 weeks before Brazil, my rowing partner Gins, in the middle of the night, when I was sleeping in the cabin and he was rowing outside, I hear him screaming so loudly that this sound might circumnavigate the world by itself. And it was crazy, and I didn't know what happened. So when I opened the cabin hatch and I was about to understand what happened, actually there was a wave, because during the night the visibility is very poor, you cannot see properly. So there was a wave that hit from a side, and that wave hit his oar, and that oar went into his ribs, and he broke his ribs. And it was a terrible situation. Like we were thinking of that we might call a help, we might call someone to evacuate ourselves from there, but if I think in this kind of moments, like, to be honest, everything was about to solving this situation. Like, both of us were thinking, what can we do even in this situation? And actually we figured, well, first of all, he got into the cabin, he tried to rest for some hours. He tried to rest, and then we figure out a solution how we can fix his ribs with some equipment that we had on board. We cut out from the plastic container like a plate. Then we tied this plate with a towel, and we placed it on his ribs and strapped that plate with 2 straps, like fixing his ribs from the possible movements, because the boat is moving all the time in the waves. So when we done that, and he was lying in the cabin, and just slowly I asked him, so what do you think? Can we continue? Because otherwise we need to call for help. But right now, do you think it's necessary for a help, or are we actually in control of the situation? And he said honestly that, well, actually, when we have fixed my ribs now and I'm in the cabin, actually I could stay here, I can rest, you can row, and we can continue. So in that moment, we didn't let the fear to come in. We didn't even get a threshold. We didn't give this fear a threshold where to come in. Because, if the fear in this kind of situation comes in, it's I would say it's really, really complicated then to solve all these challenges.
So there's so many questions. And ladies and gentlemen, we're here at the Fearless Road podcast with Karlis Bardelis, currently in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on their way to Brazil. There's so many stories, Karlis, and so many adventures that you have. We could talk for hours and hours and hours. And oh my gosh, I want to dive into these, but we only have so much time on the show, and I've got to get to these questions. But so fear is not an option, it sounds like to me, in this scenario.
Yeah.
Do you have a relationship then? Would you say you have a different relationship with fear as a result of having these experiences?
I think the relationship is can be said in this one sentence. If I can imagine that, if that idea came to my mind, I can do that. I wouldn't be able to imagine, or this idea wouldn't come to me if I wouldn't be able to actually execute and actually do any of these expeditions. So therefore I would say, if any idea has come to you, just don't push back. I mean, don't push back.
Yeah, lean in
and look where this excitement of curiosity is leading you, and that will open up some very interesting doors.
Yes, that and Googling open up some doors. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit just for the listeners and everything. There was a journey that you took, another rowing journey. Now you've made it from Africa to Brazil. You rode your bicycle in South America, and then you rode across the Pacific Ocean to Asia. But the last part of your journey, I think, was the most terrifying and the most concerning. Can you share with the audience this part of the journey, specifically when you ended up in Somalia?
Absolutely. You know, sometimes people, when I'm out there in the ocean, they think that, it's so dangerous and so risky. And when I'm close to some civilization, that this might be much more safer for me, but actually it isn't like that. Any coast actually is a dangerous for this boat because of the traffic, because of the local fishermen, because of the currents and weather, which are much more changing than in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where it has been like that there's trade winds and trade currents. You need to take in account them, but they are out there even now. So, but additionally to all those things that I mentioned now, the traffic, the local fishermen, the weather, etc., there comes this risk and very dangerous, very dangerous final stage of my Indian Ocean rowing expedition, where it ended up in Somalia, and I didn't plan it that way. I planned it to finish in Tanzania, but unfortunately my backup, which was that I thought, okay, if not Tanzania, then Kenya. But even with that, it wasn't enough, and the currents and the wind was two times stronger than it's supposed to be in that season. So against that, there was no options. So I end up in Somalia, and there I have to say thank you, and I'm so grateful, beyond grateful, that a lot of authorities actually came together for me to actually secure this landing, and that was like Somalian army, Italian embassy, because European countries doesn't have an embassies in Somalia. Only Italian embassy is there. So Italians took it over from my Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all this diplomacy and all the logistics, and it actually it was crazy. And I drifted along the coast, which is controlled by the terrorist group Al-Shabab, and the thing is that for the past 5-6 years there hasn't been a case in the sea of the piracy in the sea, because all of those container vessels, they have armed guards, and they just shoot them all off. So, but the situation is completely different when you come ashore, where any taxi driver, where any postman, where any of anyone knows that they can sell you a foreigner. They can sell a foreigner for a couple of thousand to the group of the terrorists, who will then ask for the big ransom. And luckily, I was so the idea was such that the good guys finds me first, then the bad guys. So that was the core of this mission.
My God.
And definitely, as I said, I'm very grateful to anyone who give a hand to this mission. And it's amazing. Actually, that's
it's unbelievable that you I mean, to have that kind of support and energy around you in the middle. And this is a journey. By the way, you were alone on this one, weren't you? You didn't have a rowing partner on this leg of the trip.
Yeah, I had from Sri Lanka to Maldives. I was rowing with a friend, half citizen, half American citizenship, and
Okay.
and we did this from Sri Lanka to Maldives, and then I continued alone. So I was alone there, and yeah, well, there was a lot of communication, a lot of unknown things, but I'm now kind of questioning myself whether I let the fear in, even in that moment, you know.
Yes.
To be honest, I'm very positive guy, just in life, and
Well, you shared with me before that you had said, because I asked you, I think in our previous conversation when we were doing our discovery call and we were sort of getting to know each other a little bit better, that you couldn't afford to let the fear in because of everything that was in front of you, because you were alone and you were dealing with so many different things: navigation, the waters, the currents, the winds that were changing, the rowing conditions that you were underneath, and the fact that you were just being pushed towards the coast of Somalia. You had said in your head that you just couldn't allow fear to take hold because you had to be solution oriented.
Absolutely. And all of my ocean crossing expeditions, at the end of the last leg, finish line, when you actually can see the land, which is so close that you can even think that you can grab the land, but there is still some distance to do. You have to have this 150% focus. You cannot get into the feeling like, I'm already there, I've already done the crossing. Then the problems can happen. But no, you just keep this 150% focus, because none of those kilometers or miles behind you matter. Only the ones that are in front of you.
In front. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, none of the miles behind you matter. Only the ones in front are truly what matters now. We're gonna. I'm at some point. I'm gonna probably have another conversation with you because there's so many questions I have, and you have so many adventures to share. But let's take this beyond the ocean, and let's take this into the corporate and entrepreneurial mindset environment. You now have taken your experiences and your lessons, and you now share them with the world on stage. You speak professionally and share these experiences. Tell me, do you have a fear of stage? Do you have a fear of speaking?
I have this urge to share the journey, to share the story.
Yeah.
So I'm always eager to share that. So, and I don't do it. The don't do it every day, but if
Yes.
it's once a week, twice a week, I'm excited every time when I do it. So there is some
Because you know that public speaking is one of the biggest fears in the world. People are terrified of public speaking, and yet that's you just step right up to the plate. What do you share with? What lessons do you share? What is your method in your message when you're talking from the stage?
So if I'm sharing just this, like 2 sentences of saying, I crossed the Atlantic in a rowboat, then cycled across South America, then for 2 years rowed across the Pacific, and now across the Indian Ocean for 7 years, and I'm not a professional athlete. Then people are curious, Karlis, like, do you have some superpowers or what? Like, how did you do that? And by the way, Karlis, we don't have 7 or 8 years to experience all that by ourselves. So could you please give us a summary of the most valuable things, what you experienced and learned along the way? So
Yes.
So my way of thinking, my way of explaining all this is that I tell exactly the situations I was facing, the conditions that I was surrounded, what solutions I made, what decisions I made, what I've learned from them, and what I have taken for my next challenges, what were valuable for me. Were that valuable for me? Yes, that I took it for my next challenge. And then I use it as a tool for my next challenge. So those are the stories that they want to hear. They can really, actually, sometimes I even, in the feedback, I ask them, could you even relate to that? Because you will not row across the sea. And they're saying, no, your story of not giving up, of choosing your own attitude, of saying nobody knew how to do anything before they learn, with all these attitudes and with all these examples from real life, from real expeditions, they feel that it's very valuable, that it's not just from a book that I read and now I'm like, I learned from the book, and no, I learned from the experience. And when I share that experience and I put those people in the boat with me across the sea along these 45 minutes, and they have this feeling like, wow, actually, that's what they are sharing with me in the feedback, that, wow, we had the feeling that I'm the one who is rowing, I'm the one who is making these decisions. Wow, what I would do in these situations. So they can really relate to these challenges, and the example I shared with you before, when afterwards I got in the feedback, the entrepreneur, he told me that, your ability to underline the importance of finding the solutions till the last moment. There is never too late. You're just finding the solutions, and that's how we were able to cross the Atlantic. And that's how he sees that his team needed that message from someone from outside. Because sometimes, when the leaders are experiencing that they had some important project, like behind that they already done some important project, or there is an important project that they are facing next quarter or next year, and the leader has like lost the words, how he could encourage and inspire his team, like, to take on this next very demanding and challenging project that they will take on. So then they asked me to come in and share my story, and then through the eyes of the expedition and through the eyes of explorer, they can see, yes, like, if Karlis could do that, they could figure out how to row while standing, or how to not give up in these situations where the tanker almost hit us, or when the sharks were hitting the boat, etc., etc. So even then, if they were in such a problematic place, in such a bad place, even there was a solution, and they got it through. So that gives them the feeling that even the guy who Googled, he can row across the ocean. What we couldn't do, like,
Yes.
is there anything? Like,
Yes.
so
Yes.
yeah,
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Your adventures are an inspiration to, I'm sure, a lot of people. Are you writing a book? Are you planning on writing a book to
yeah,
share these adventures?
definitely. And my approach to this book, because my friend with whom we rowed the Atlantic, he wrote a book about the Atlantic crossing, but that's only in Latvian. We made the documentary. That's the name is Touched by the Ocean, and but I'm definitely thinking of writing a book. But I have these stories in me, and what I think to myself, if I cannot remember something from 5 years or 7 years, what I've done 7 years ago, that this is not the thing that is necessary to share with anyone in the book. If I cannot remember it, it's not worth sharing. I will write in the book
Yes.
only the things that I can remember very vividly,
Yes.
very colorfully, and I can share with them even after 5, 6, 7 years after doing all these things. So definitely,
Well, if you need a partner to help you, I will sit and listen. I will ask all the questions and help
Perfect.
you get this out onto paper if you want. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here in studio at the Fearless Road podcast with Karlis Bardelis, who has just shared with us an incredible journey almost around the world. We haven't gotten into some of the other stories, and we can't get into the rest of them because we have limited time. And we will do a part 2 of this where we get a little further into some of the other journeys and the stories that Karlis has endured and has overcome and has shared. As a motivational speaker, if you're interested in bringing a new perspective to your team and sharing the challenges and what you face in the new quarter or the new year, and you're looking for ways to inspire them, I suggest you reach out to Karlis and you get him on a stage near you immediately. You get him to share these stories, get him to talk about his journeys, get him to inspire your team, because it's nothing short of miraculous and it's nothing short of impressive, the feats that this young man has achieved in his short lifetime, which you're going to do more. I know you're going to do more. You mentioned to me before, like, you can imagine yourself at 60 doing something incredible, and I just think that that's unbelievably amazing. If there's one last 2 things, where can people find you? And the last is, what message would you like to leave with our listeners today, if there was a message you could leave? So where can we find you, and what's your final message for us?
So you could find me in the wildest place, wherever you get, and you will see.
Look at the nearest ocean near you, and you can Google him. You can Google Karlis.
By the way, this is the thing, how you can find me. If you Google, where is Karlis? And definitely, the first thing that comes on Google, where is Karlis? And Karlis is like, not like Canada, but like Kenya. So, the first...
Yes, Karlis.
Exactly. My message is actually, I will be an advocate and promote this thing, because which I want to share with you anywhere I go, because that is the fundament of all my journeys, of all of my expeditions. How I actually cope with all this adversity is, and I will paraphrase, paraphrase the quote from the book, which I listened while rowing across the Pacific. And that's by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. So the quote is as follows: from outside stimulus to our response to that stimulus, in the middle, in between that, there is a moment. And in that moment lies infinitive power. And that power is our ability to choose our attitude in any given circumstances. This is one of the most powerful things what I will promote, advocate for, because this is what I have tested so many times in my experiences, and nothing helps me better than this. Like in very, very difficult and depressive situations where I've been pushed back, like for not one day, not 1 week, but for a 1 month, I've been pushed back by the currents. And only with the ability to choose my attitude in that situation, I was able to stay sane. So if you can take that and test it with any of your next challenges, I really hope
that would be your message.
That's the thing.
Well, from your indomitable spirit and the infinite strength of your attitude, our attitude is of gratitude, and we give you an ocean-sized thanks from our listeners for your adventure and sharing your fearless journey, your literal fearless, brave, and amazing experience. I will do whatever I can to spread your message and to encourage those here in the United States to bring you across the ocean, not by rowing, by plane, and get you on our stages here. Hey, you never know. To share your story further and to spread this message, where you can, at the junction of your infinite power, you can change your mind about something and make magic happen. Ladies and gentlemen, my incredible pleasure and my incredible guest, Karlis Bardelis, Board Without Borders. This has been an incredible journey. It's been an incredible interview. Thank you so much, Karlis, for sharing this with me today and with the rest of us today. I hope to have you back again because I want to know more. I want to hear more. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, Michael. It was such a pleasure. You know, we were on this cruise across the sea in this interview. So I really enjoyed that, and all the listeners. This is where we thank our cruise members that we have crossed on the other side. Let's move on. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
And choose
it has been a pleasure.
And choose Fearless Road and Board of Borders Sea Lines the next time.
Yes, please, ladies and gentlemen, you may now put up your tray tables, pull up your seat backs into the upright position. We are about to land this plane. Board of Borders, the Fearless Road podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Karlis, for being a part of the show today. And remember, everybody, stay fearless. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye. Okay, this concludes the final part of the episode with Karlis Bardelis, part 1, part 2, and part 3. You've made it all the way through. My gosh, what an incredible journey. What an incredible human being. What an incredible, indomitable spirit this guy has. Thanks for listening. If you've gotten all the way through here, man, my love goes out to you. I feel it. I think it's incredible. Like, subscribe, do all those things, those wonderful things for us, you know. And if you're interested in more, check out Fearless Thinking, the podcast, the new podcast that's out. And, you know, we got some interesting things coming down the line. A new online membership community called the Ascend Hub, launching this summer, which sort of gathers all my fearless people together under one roof. So that'll be pretty cool. So thanks, everybody. Have an incredible, fearless day.